Hello everybody, I hope you're all doing well. I think this is our third morning. Is this our third or fourth morning? Third morning. Third morning. We've decided to stay in this spot as long as possible just because the conditions are just so ideal with the beautiful fall color, and of course we still have these trees in water, which just adds a whole another dimension. The one problem that we are having, and it's kind of an ongoing one, is that we just keep getting a lot of wind. Every morning and evening it seems to be windy. Today it's quite sunny, except the clouds have moved in, which is really nice. It just subdues the light quite a bit nicer. This scene here that I'm working on, I've come to several times now. I don't know, every time I just keep coming back because I want to make sure that I get it right. It's just such a unique perspective, looking down on these trees with a hint of yellow at the bottom, and then of course we have this turquoise blue. But of course with the wind, you know, it's moving just a little bit, and I'm just a bit worried that I haven't quite got it. Also, the water tends to look better if it isn't rippled. So what I've been doing is using an ND filter to kind of smooth it out just a little bit. But of course, as soon as you do that, slower shutter speeds, and with the wind, then it's next to impossible to get a sharp image. And also, right now the whole trees are moving, not just the leaves. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a few really long exposures, 3 or 4 seconds, and then I'm taking some other shots with a quicker shutter speed of the parts that need to be sharp, and I'll just paint those in if need be. With this camera, I've got it set up so that I'm photographing not only in RAW but also JPEGs, so I can review them on my phone and on my computer in the evening. Also with this camera, what I've been doing, which I haven't done in the past but I'm finding quite useful, is to actually crop the images in camera just to see what they look like. So if I think that I see a scene, I think, well, that might look neat as a 16:9 pano, then I'll use that format in the camera so I can see what it looks like. Take a JPEG of it so I can get a quick result and have a quick look. And yeah, it seems to be working out pretty good. So just a matter of waiting for the wind to die down. The light otherwise is pretty good with the cloud cover right now, so
sweetie pie, make yourself look cute.
oh, it's getting a bit nippy. So while Jeremy's warming his feet up, I decided to come over here and keep my feet dry. And these aspen just sitting in the middle of the lake here just look superb, and they're very easy to separate because of the water. What I really love about this is the warm and cool tones between where the wind's blowing the lake. You get that reflection from the sky, and then now and then you get these calm bits where there's warm reflections from the hillsides in the background. So I'm taking panos 16 by 9, and then the other one was 24 by something or other, very thin and long. I'm not sure which one will turn out the best, but it's a bit of an experiment. And then as soon as I got a few shots here, I'm going to go in and have a beer, because I think I've had enough today. Right. Throughout this trip, I seem to be in slow shutter speed mode, and I've mentioned it a number of times throughout all of these videos. I just really enjoyed using slower shutter speeds to smooth out that water, and this image is no exception. So this raw file here is 1/8 of a second, which is relatively fast, but you can still see the details within the water. I liked the patterns in the water, but I didn't want too much detail. So what I ended up doing was putting on a circular polarizer with a built-in ND filter. In this case, it was a 3-stop ND filter, and I extended the shutter speed to 20 seconds. And it gave me a much smoother transition in color, warm tones and cool tones. I'm not a big user of filters, but on this trip I tended to use the circular polarizer ND filters quite a bit. And these are a filter made by Breakthrough Photography, and they're quite unique in that they combine the two filters into one, so you're not stacking filters. So I quite enjoyed using them on this particular trip. Why is it that every time I find a composition that I end up in an awkward spot? So I've got my lens jammed in between two trees here, but I really love this composition. You'll see that this whole it's kind of like a bit of a ditch really, and it's filled with all of these aspen leaves, and there's these little trees growing out of the pond here, so it's really nice to try and find a composition with these twisted limbs coming out of the pond surrounded by leaves. And I think I found a pretty decent composition. I photographed these trees from just over to the left there, which I quite liked, but I did have a bit of a problem with depth of field. Same trees, just different composition. I'll show you what I have. I think it's quite interesting. I just love the way that all of the limbs kind of bend into one another. I think it'll work. It's really windy right now, so this is probably the best kind of subject matter that you can photograph, stuff that's on the ground that isn't moving around too much. The trees are moving a little bit, but not as much as the bigger trees around this area. All right, this is the composition that I have. As you can see, it's kind of neat. We have the twisty aspen here, and then another twisty one that kind of goes over to the left side there. And what I kind of like about this, now you might not be able to see this, but right here there's a little twig that has a bend in it and bends away from the edge, and then there's another little twig here that brings you back into these tree limbs here that have a bit of a twist in them as well. So they kind of mimic one another. This one twists to the right and this one twists to the left. And then we have an intersection here. Now it is a little bit busy at the top here. That's because I couldn't get my camera high enough between the trees here, so I'll probably just end up cropping that. I've also used a polarizer. There is some reflections of the sky in here, so I was able to get rid of those with the polarizer, and now you can just see black behind the leaves there, which I think works a little bit better. But yeah, it's kind of a neat composition. I showed it to Jeremy and he prefers the other composition of the same trees, so I'll show you both and let me know which one you prefer, this one or the other comp. Okay, this is really interesting. This pond here, the whole pond is just covered in leaves. I don't think I can see one part where I can actually see through to the bottom. So it's just a pattern of leaves. But what's really neat is I've been able to isolate a couple of aspen trunks coming out of the pond. So I just have those in there to give it some kind of reference. So we just have the two aspen trunks and then all of the leaves, and actually now and then the sun tries to come out a little bit, so it creates a beautiful shadow in there as well. So I think that adds a little bit. I'll take some with a shadow and some without, and then I can decide which one I like afterwards. But yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, and I think this is all about details, and obviously it's going to be more of a pattern shot than anything. Not really a center of interest other than those two trunks coming out at the top of the frame there. Well, once again, that's it for this week, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this series as much as I've enjoyed putting them together. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. That really helps. Also, before I leave you, once again, I have a number of Quiet Light books still available, and also a 2021 Quiet Light calendar. So if you're interested in either one of those, be sure to head on over to kozubooks.com to order your copy. Thanks ever so much. Bye-bye.